Okay, but let's go big picture though. Bigger picture, biggest picture. What's the biggest problem with this team?
I think injury is the main one, but I'm going to throw out a different one just because we all know it. Injury is the biggest problem with this team. They're constantly injured. But I really just honestly believe it is the philosophy of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and their prioritization of the offensive line. All the issues that they're going through right now would improve if they had just a really just stout, top-notch offensive line. Their run game would be better if they had a good offensive line. Their red zone efficiency would be better if they had a good offensive line. Brock Purdy and Mac Jones would be better if they had a good offensive line. They probably would be less injured, the quarterbacks I'm talking about, if they had a good offensive line. They have come out and talked about their philosophy, and offensive line isn't even in their top 3 position groups in their head. They have this philosophy that they can get by with this. They literally have the lightest offensive line in the NFL, the lightest, the smallest dudes in the NFL. That's their philosophy, and it's not working. And they both believe this, or they both say they believe this publicly, and we see the consequences of it. If you give that 2019 and 2023 team a better offensive line, they probably are Super Bowl champions right now. And you can really see it right now on this team. They struggle. Their biggest problem outside of injury is just they don't prioritize the offensive line. And I'm tired of people gaslighting me with BS statistics. We have eyes. We can see. You can't punch it in on the goal line because you got a bunch of slim, skinny dudes on this O-line. And then with Trent Williams dropping off, forget about it. Forget about it.
They're so arrogant about it too. Like every offseason, people are like, this is the year they got to get offensive linemen. And they're like, oh, what? You want us to address our offensive line? Okay, we will. In the 7th round, we took a guard and he's great. Like, okay, well, no, he's not. And what about the offensive tackle? And, oh, well, we got Ben Barch. We really like him. Okay, well, he's hurt. And now you're starting Colby. Maybe if you would like spend one of your, maybe it's your 2nd round pick on a guard. No offense to Alfred Collins, but it's not like he's super impactful. You could have gotten an actual talent at that position early on in the draft, but you wanted to prove a point that it's such an unimportant position. Why would you even do that?
I mean, there's countless examples of offensive linemen that are in this league that the 49ers passed over so they can get the guys like Cam Latu and Jake Moody and players like that. They passed on good offensive linemen that are starters in this league to get those kind of players. If the 49ers do not approach the offensive line in this coming draft after this season like they approached the defensive line this past season, I'm completely out on Kyle Shanahan. Like, I can't. Like, you have ignored it for multiple drafts now, and if you don't approach it with that same urgency and the same prioritization that you approach the defensive line in this past draft, I'm done, man. I just will not believe in this team under him.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about the injuries now, because to me that is the biggest problem with this team. I mean, you give out all this money to these players and they're hurt, and it's been year after year. It's been more than a decade. To me, I think there's probably a bajillion reasons why they have these injuries, but I'm trying to just look for like common threads. And I think that there's a culture issue with these injuries in the sense that the leaders of the team, the best players in the team, are like very specific in how they work out and how they train. And it's Kittle, it's Juszczyk, it's Bosa, it's McCaffrey. What are the words that Kyle uses to describe how they work? They're psychos. They're maniacal. They never stop. So I think there's a culture of, if you want to be great on this team, it's not like do it like Trent. Trent's the aberration. He doesn't even try. He's the best, or was. You have to be maniacal. You have to work super freaking hard. You have to have 6% body fat. So I think you have a lot of guys who maybe overtrain. And I think you have guys who mean well, work their asses off, but there are these guys who like got to this position in the NFL by overtraining, mid-round picks who weren't expected to be great, kind of like John Lynch. John Lynch was a 3rd-round pick, and he was a maniacal worker and ended up working himself into a Hall of Fame career, just like George Kittle, just like Fred Warner. Nick Bosa was a top pick, but he works like that. McCaffrey works like that. And I think you got a bunch of guys who are, flirting with disaster every time they work out and play because there's not a lot of wiggle room. I'm not using words correctly, but you know what I'm saying. Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now.
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. It's hard. You're around this team. You're in the locker room. You're around them way more than I am. It's hard for me to nail down why it is a thing. But what we do know is it is a thing. All right, statistically,
Ricky seems like a classic overtrainer. Brock seems like a classic overtrainer. Like, these guys have perfected their physique in ways that, they never could have. It's not like Mac Jones isn't an overtrainer, but a lot of these guys are.
Well, what I was going to say is that I don't know what it is that they're doing, but whatever the hell it is they're doing, they need to flip it on its back and do the exact opposite, because you're seeing a pattern forming here, and the definition of his insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So fire your head trainer. Whatever your head trainer was having you do the opposite. Study the teams that seem to be more healthy on a regular basis and do what they're doing. But what you cannot do is do the same thing and expect different results. That much I know.
Players you're bringing in, it's the culture you set. You guys have been here for 9, going on 10 years. At a certain point, Jed York has to look at John and Kyle and ask them, why is this an issue year after year, and decide whether their answer is satisfactory. Because I'm starting to think that this is an issue that's going to derail like 3 out of 4 seasons or more. And it's an issue that they're always going to fall back on. Well, we had injuries this year. Well, you have injuries every year. And it seems like this injury issue is an issue for every team in the NFL, because that's, the sport, but it's a bigger issue for you, clearly, year after year. So if you can't fix it, I got to fire you guys and find someone else who will have a more compelling solution when I talk to them about it.
Yeah, man, it almost seems like a regime change is needed soon. And unfortunately, I think it's something that works against them this year, against the regime change, having such a weak schedule. I was looking at the schedule. I don't think this 49ers team is great. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but I still think they can go 9, 10, 11 wins just because of the schedule that they have. But it's kind of fool's gold, right? It makes you think, hey, we won 9, 10, 11 games this year. We're good. But then what's going to happen is next year they got to play these AFC West opponents, and they're going to really struggle. At some point, I think they actually need to just kind of reset.
I do think the defense is good, even though it's not going to be as good as it could have been with Bosa. The special team still sucks, even though they have a better kicker. We learned that. And I think the offense could be good if it ever got healthy, but I don't know that it ever will, because the offensive line is banged up and stinks, which means the quarterbacks are constantly banged up. The wide receivers are constantly banged up. Kittle, when is he coming back, and what will he be when he comes back? There's a world where this offense is good, but I just don't know if it's ever going to come together.
It's not this world. When you're 31st in yards per carry and you're the 49ers, like, what are you going to do? Do you have the quarterback that's just going to put together this elite passing game? Do you have the receivers that can work in harmony with him? Do you have the offensive line that can protect you to do that? You don't have any of those things. I don't see this offense as being good this year, and that's going to be a problem. And that's why they'll probably win 9, 10, 11 games, and then they're going to get beat by a really good team in the playoffs. Then they're going to come back next year and face some really tough opponents, and it's going to be more transparent, I think.